What's up, guys, and welcome back. This is episode 1 of season 2 of the Lost Signal podcast. We've got a special episode ahead for you guys today. And John, tell us a little bit about today. What do we got? What do we got lined up?
Today we have a very good friend of mine here. He's also my pastor, and I love him to death. He's a great guy. It's Andrew Walker. Andrew, thank you so much for being with us today.
Glad to be here.
Welcome to the show.
I think it's going to be a really good episode. You guys are really going to like it. So we're just going to head and get right into it. Give us a rundown about your life. Where are you from? Where'd you go to school? You know, things like that.
Yeah, Old Fort, raised here in North Carolina.
Okay.
And McDowell High School. And then off to college. After that, I went to, so I've been to several schools after high school. So Southeastern Baptist Theological Seminary, I got a undergraduate there. And then 2 years worth of a master's from Greenville Presbyterian Theological Seminary, and then a master's of divinity from Gordon Conwell Theological Seminary, and then a doctorate in ministry from Dallas Theological Seminary.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to say doctor.
Oh, it's not legitimate yet.
I forgot to say doctor. That was completely my fault.
Boo-boo.
Yeah, I know. It's okay. It'll be all right. So what was childhood like? What was it like growing up?
Yeah, pretty good childhood. Church going family. Just grew up in the woods, running around in the woods. Pretty typical childhood. There was very early on in my entire family drug and alcohol use that became pretty representative of a lot of my teenage years, and then on into just circumstances that we had to deal with as a family beyond that, which I'm sure we could talk about. But,
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, was that your parents?
It was my dad.
Okay.
And my brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many siblings are there?
I have two brothers, one deceased.
Oh, okay.
And then the other still lives out in Old Fort.
Is it true, like, if you're like raised in Old Fort, that's where you stay?
Yeah, I'm proud to be.
Yeah.
Old Fort raised.
I like the Old Fort area. I mean, and I always have. I like it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Kind of take us through, like, growing up, childhood-wise. Is there any, like, dark times that you would like to share?
Sure.
Kind of talk about that.
Yeah. I don't want the whole podcast to be, there's a lot there.
Sure.
And it would be quite a downer.
Whatever you feel comfortable sharing,
Yeah.
of course. And, and as far as like childhood and coming up, even, because this isn't just for the childhood part as far as the dark times. Of course, everybody goes through those, but, anything that you like to share and,
Sure.
and kind of do that way.
So, there's a I'll just start here. So, my dad was a closet alcoholic pretty much my entire life. My brother, the one who has passed away, got heavily involved in the drugs around the age of 12 years old, became a drug addict. And then I followed suit, just, looked up to him, wanted to be like him. And so that was me.
Typical older brother, younger brother.
Typical older brother, younger brother. Hung out with him all the time, ran around all of McDowell County. And then around the time I was probably almost 17, maybe 17 years old, late 16-year-old, I realized that he was a drug addict. I hadn't realized that.
Okay.
And it became pretty clear to me. As a matter of fact, this is an important part of my life. We were watching a movie called Train Spotting. Don't know if you know that movie. I can't say that I would recommend it, but it's a movie about heroin addicts in Glasgow, Scotland.
Okay.
And there's a scene at the end of the movie where the Ewan McGregor plays the guy, and he's snatched a briefcase full of money from his friends. He's walking down the railroad tracks. He's got this inner monologue going that he's gonna get one more hit of dope. And then he's going to go buy a boat and buy a big screen, all this stuff he's going to buy.
Yes.
And I was like 16. I was like, man, that's screwed up. That's real. That's just a bummer. And my brother literally went, what are you talking about? He's going to go buy a boat. He's going to go buy a big screen TV.
Kind of focus on the materialistic
Well, it just dawned on me in that moment.
Yeah.
Like, the clear message of the movie was this guy's going to blow all that money on dope. He's not going to get any of that stuff.
Right.
That had not occurred to my brother.
Wow.
And I realized in that moment that he was that guy walking down those railroad tracks. And I was like, man, I'm going to need to make a change. And it's a part of my salvation story that I'll share. But I did. It wasn't. Sometime later, the Lord made a change in my life. My brother went on to struggle with drugs the rest of his life, and then died, thankfully, sober, at 39 years old. So that was 2019 that he died. He'd been sober for 3 years, and had been going to the church out there with us. And
Wow.
big change in his life, but
Kind of turned things around towards the end.
Yeah, he did. He did.
Wow.
Great.
My dad died of suicide when I was 26 years old, and that was alcohol related. And so that's a portion of some of how those things have impacted, my life. Pretty difficult seasons there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when did you come to Christ?
17.
17.
Sometime after that event that I was talking about there, and I went away to a camp. My mom made me go to it. I looked for dope before I went.
Oh, wow.
My brother would not let me get any, to his credit. My mom stuffed my pockets full of Nicorette gum so I wouldn't get kicked out for smoking. And I went to this Christian camp. And before I went, I knelt down beside my bed for whatever reason. And I said, Lord, please speak to me this week. And he completely interrupted my life that week, changed me forever. It was at Gardner Webb.
Yeah.
Was in the gymnasium, and I knelt down in the middle of a room full of kids just walking all over the place because the place was, you couldn't really go anywhere. And the Lord met me in that room, and it was a communion service. And I kept hearing these people giving communion saying, this is my body, this is my blood. It said it over and over again. And it was like the Lord just took those words and just like a pickaxe just started chipping away at my heart.
Wow.
And I discovered that I believed and turned my life to Christ. And it was shortly after that, I know it's on here. I don't remember, I remember as a young child, saying to people I wanted to be a preacher when I grew up. And that was always in the background. So when I got saved, I think it was like this natural next step. I don't recall making a decision after that, okay, I'm going to be a preacher. I think it was just like, okay, well, this is what you've sensed your whole life. You're just going to walk in that direction, and that's what I did.
If you were to put an age, I know you said a child, but like
5 years old, you asking when I felt that?
Yeah, like the first time that you can remember.
First time I remember it was in the grocery store, seeing my kindergarten teacher, Miss Penelon. And she asked, I guess I was probably a little older because she was no longer my kindergarten teacher. So I was probably first grade.
Okay.
And she asked what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I said, I want to be a preacher.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's not your typical response for, that age. Because, it's usually just very specific, career paths. And
I wanted to race dirt bikes at that age. That's what I wanted to do.
I'm trying to remember what I wanted to be. I don't remember. But that's interesting. So about around first grade.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
In the grocery store.
In the
very
grocery
vividly.
Store. Yeah, very
like
vividly.
A core memory.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That's crazy.
That is. Wow.
All right. So now I believe that, and you kind of touched on it, you don't just wake up one day and you're like, I'm going to be a preacher. Mm-hmm. I believe you're called to preach. And, this next question, I have wanted to ask this question to every preacher I know, and I've honestly never felt comfortable enough to like open up and really talk to, and that's horrible. That's my fault. But what kind of burden do you carry for the people that you preach to? Because, going back to what I said about being called to preach, and you don't just like wake up one day and you're like, hey, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to be a preacher. I feel that the Lord gives you say someone did wake up one morning and go, I'm going to be a preacher.
Yeah.
You don't have that divine calling to do it. So I feel, therefore, that person is not prepared by the Lord to handle the burdens of a church.
Yeah.
Where in your case, you were called to preach, and the Lord gave you that.
Yeah.
Because I don't think a typical person could handle the burdens of the people of the church.
Yeah.
I would just feel overwhelmed 100% of the time.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth to that. So your question is, like...
Yeah, what kind of burden do you carry?
Yeah, so to your point before that, there was, I think it was Charles Spurgeon who said, if you want to be a pastor and you find that you could do anything other than that and be happy, then do the other thing. And it's part of that because there's a passage in Jeremiah where Jeremiah, he's contemplating quitting, and he says that when he thinks about it, he says he discovers that there's this burning in his bones that he basically can't shut up. He cannot not do this,
Yeah.
And if that compulsion is not there, then you'll quit,
Yeah.
because there are seasons where the ministry is incredibly intense and incredibly hard. For me, the burden has changed over the years. Early on, I felt, I would say probably an inordinate responsibility for it was never a responsibility for their successes, but for their failures. So if a person in my congregation cheated on their spouse, for some strange reason, I felt that was a failure on my part,
Okay.
I have had to unlearn that kind of, really what's kind of a codependency. I still feel a real burden, so that if I know that a person in my congregation is struggling with something, I feel a real intense need to be involved, to engage, to help. If they are going through a grief, I feel this incredible burden to try to be there for them, walk with them through it. I feel a real strong responsibility and desire to see, like the Bible talks about, seeing Christ formed in people. And I want to see that happen for my people. So, used to, and I think this goes with youth, it would keep me up at night. This sort of stuff I would wake up in the night. I still wake up in the night, and we'll have some times where it's hard to go back to sleep because somebody's on my mind. But it's not as intense as it used to be. I think with some maturity, I'm able to live a life.
Right.
See,
I would feel, you're married, you have children, you're responsible for them. You're also responsible for your church. It would just be overwhelming for me. I feel like I'd be pulled in 1,000 directions every day.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like God gives you that ability to handle that when you're called.
And also, God designed his church. Not every church operates this way, so that those responsibilities do not rest on one person.
Right.
And so, like our church, we have elders, and we also extend those responsibilities even out to other areas of ministry, so that there's a place in Ephesians where Paul says that the responsibility of a pastor is to equip the saints to do the work of ministry. Okay. And so in the right church context, people are caring for one another. And thankfully, I can say that our church has matured to a level where I see that happening.
I do too, and I haven't been there half as long as anybody else has. I can see that as well. Cool.
Yeah.
Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, kind of like delegate responsibilities.
Yeah, there we go.
So you're not trying to overwhelmingly try to take on everything.
Yeah.
Everybody has their place. Everybody has their purpose. And kind of like a body. Kind of like Scripture talks about. Just we are the body of body of Christ. Each limb has its purpose, right? Kind of like that in the church. Everybody has their own.
That's right.
Designated, thing. That way, it's not on any specific single person, if you will.
Right.
Even though you're kind of overseeing it, and that is, the church that you're called to be at, and and oversee. But there's jobs that they're like, okay, so and so's handling that, and and it's going well, and it's pleasing to God, so let that kind of be.
And additionally, like doing it better than I could do it, and that's important. Is that like that's why, like, you talk about a body, like there are members of the body that there's gifts that I don't have.
Yes.
And those need to be exercised by those people who have them.
Right.
Yeah, they're called to that location to serve, and that's what the Spirit is saying. Okay, you handle this.
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And it all just comes together.
Yeah.
In one glorious way to to God be the glory kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I know you and I have talked about this before, and it's not on here, and I forgot to put it on here. But we talked about, well, we didn't talk about this, but you're getting ready to explain it to me. How do you overcome that sense of, I'm just up here talking to myself, or talking to an empty room, like nothing's landing, that type of, how do you overcome that standing up in front of everyone?
Well, there's an advantage to doing it every week, that you learn that every Sunday is not necessarily a home run.
Right.
Early on, it was crushing. It was absolutely crushing. Now, I'll say to myself when I leave the church, I'll say, "Be a goldfish," and
I think I know where you're going.
And it's just like it's over, and I can guarantee you, the only person who's going to think about it tomorrow is me.
Right.
Let it be. Just basically, and that kind of goes with trusting God and allowing the Holy Spirit to work through you and say, okay, the results are up to you.
Right.
And leave it there.
And so an image for it that I have is eating supper. And like, so if I was asked you, what'd you have for supper last Friday night or Tuesday night, you might not be able to, you might have to work to remember, and you may even not even then be able to remember. But the fact is, you ate.
Yeah.
And it gave nourishment to your body. Every now and then, you go to some really nice steakhouse and it stands out, and you remember it and you want to go back there,
Right.
And that's what I do, Most of what I do is feed people regular nourishment. And every now and then I by God's grace, cook a 5-course meal for them,
Right.
And I wish it was every week. It's just not realistic,
Right.
Yeah. So
I bet it is, like you said at the beginning, just absolutely like, I've worked, you went to school after school after school to prepare for this, and it's like, really, guys? Nothing?
The other side of this, though, is that, like, I've discovered through years of doing it that my experience, what I perceive happening from my standpoint doing it, is not necessarily what the experience is of the people in the room.
Right.
And then the evidence of that is changed lives. And so recently we've had this guy at our church who got saved in the past several months. And I discovered it as he was leaving church one Sunday. I was just talking to him, and it turned out the guy had asked Christ into his heart in his bathroom like a month earlier.
Wow.
And I was like, tell somebody.
Yeah.
You're just
That's something you should tell somebody about, right?
And
Wow.
And so it was an encouragement to me, because it was like, okay, you're doing stuff that I don't even know about.
Yeah.
God's doing stuff I don't even know about.
Yep.
And so you learn to be faithful and trust Him with the results.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that doesn't come naturally as a human.
No, it doesn't. That's exactly right.
Yeah. So in this world, don't want to say it's specific to this area. Might be more specific to this country, but I don't think so. And kind of this world has its own version of what masculinity looks like, but that doesn't necessarily really line up with what biblical masculinity looks like. And from your point of view and your studies and walking with the Lord and over the course of your life up to this point, what does that really look like in real life, and how does it compare, and it might kind of self-explain it, to what we're seeing day to day and just in our lives, but what does it actually look like?
Yeah, so this is a big one, and
Yeah.
and a lot could be said about this. I'll try to simplify it to just a few characteristics
Sure.
that I think are that are at the top of how the Bible describes this. Some of these are unique to men. A lot of them are just general Christian character. I would say, though, that the very first thing I would say is sexual purity, as it's not valued by our culture at all. It's actually thought of as an oddity, but what we do with our thought life, with our internet usage, and that kind of stuff,
Right.
how we look at women, interact with women. I think that is really something that is much needed in our culture. I think the impact of not having that has been pretty catastrophic. The other word I would use that I think is really important is faithfulness to one's word. So there's a passage. There's a question on here you didn't ask, but I'll answer.
Sure.
What's one passage of scripture that's hit you differently as you've gotten older? And I'll tell you what it is. It's I think it's found in Psalm 15, where
Okay.
it describes who shall ascend the hill of the Lord? He who has clean hands and a pure heart, and it goes on. And it says one of the characteristics is who swears to his own hurt and does not change. And the meaning of that is whenever you make an oath, a vow, and you discover that it's going to go poorly for you, you keep your word.
Like you don't back out.
You don't back out of it.
Okay.
You
Yeah.
still do it.
Right.
I cannot tell you the number of times my wife and we will have interactions at home around something, and she or I will say to the other person, we swear to our own hurt. And that, okay, that answers the question for us right there.
Yeah.
So integrity of commitments, just the level of in our culture today, and it's not just men, but men need to be this. The level of non-commitment, of just being willing to just kind of, whether it's a job, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a church, whether it's a faith altogether, just seems to be a negotiable. And we are in desperate need of men who stand with what we say. The other thing is, and this gets into some things that's been quite popular in some of the secular-ish masculinity stuff out there, which I really agree with, is responsibility, is stepping into the role of that you're supposed to have as provider, as protector, to work, to do your best with what you're given. We have kind of an epidemic of just laziness in a lot of ways, where young men really are very content to never really achieve levels of responsibility, to raise a family, or to, not that there's a place for singleness, and I'm not saying that that's necessarily what I'm talking about, but just lumbering around in the basement and playing video games all day long and all that kind of stuff.
Like when you have a family upstairs,
or just you're just whatever, maybe you don't have a family upstairs, but you still have a role, in the world.
Yeah.
There's something that the world, you're here for a reason, know, and it's not to occupy yourself with yourself. It's to give yourself unto others. And
not saying that you time shouldn't happen, which
exactly
it should.
Exactly.
And that's I think I would imagine there's probably a whole lot to unpack there as far as, whenever you're by yourself, what does that look like? How do you treat yourself? How do you talk to yourself?
Yeah.
That integrity, is that still there that you present to others? Or is it like a different version of you? But anyway, that's
right.
Yeah.
You time is absolutely necessary. I think that you time is today often an insane amount of time.
It shouldn't be
It shouldn't be
as much as
right.
the world wants it to be.
Yeah, and I think that the consequence of that is a very unhappy people. So if we go back in time and we think about what did my great-great-grandfather do with his day?
Kind of break it down. What did it look like? Right.
He worked his fingers to the bone because
Right.
that's what it was required to survive.
Yeah.
And you know what he did not have, and he didn't have anxiety issues. He didn't have depression issues. Partly because he didn't have the time to think about it, but also because we're made, to work, to achieve, to create, to protect, to provide,
To serve.
And when we do those things,
Yeah.
we discover that we're better for it. Like we feel better for it, And I think that's why we have it's part of the reasons there's such an issue of depression and suicidality and therapy issues, and the list goes on and on and on. And it's just because we have allowed a lot of dull, flat into our lives, and we may not realize it, but we're definitely not content with that.
Yeah.
I know that migrated past manhood, but I think it certainly, masculinity, it certainly fits in there.
Yeah, and as far as the masculinity, but also into what should the character biblically look like as far as just a child of God? What should we look like, and how we should portray ourselves genuinely to the world?
Yeah. Yeah, and to that effect, like, this is a Sunday school answer, but like Jesus is the picture of this,
Yeah.
The character of that man who could have a prostitute wash his feet with her hair and not have a lustful thought, to have the wherewithal. I've always been very impressed with the John chapter 8 passage where famous scribbling in the sand. They're launching these accusations. So, what are you going to do? You go kill her? Or you go let her go? He's trying to trap him. And he scribbles in the sand. And a lot of people, theologians, scholars, they go, well, what's he writing? Nobody knows. It doesn't tell us.
Yeah.
What he's doing is he is creating emotional distance between him and this yelling mob of people, so that the power structure of that occasion moves off of them, and now they're waiting on him. He's not, and the ability, like the Proverbs speak. There's a passage in the Proverbs, it's another one that's really important to me, where it says, he who can control his own spirit is greater than he who can take a city. We measure masculinity today by taking a city. What can you accomplish? What can you achieve?
Yeah.
And the Bible says, can you manage yourself?
Have you got that box checked yet?
If you can't do that, then you're not much. And Jesus, we watch him just over and over again, just like the masterful management of his human nature is the picture of what biblical masculinity truly is. Like, if you can't control your anger, if you can't control your lust, if you can't control your eating habits and all that sort of stuff, then let's not worry so much about what's going on out there. Let's deal with this.
Yeah, let's focus on inward.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so moving back to the church, still with how we're talking about, basically men involved. But like the title of this section is Church Culture and Men Right Now. What is one issue that the church needs to speak more clearly about now?
Man,
There's probably a few you could put there.
Yeah.
there are.
Honestly.
Yeah.
There are. Oh, okay. I mean, there's a bunch, but I'll tell you what concerns me the most for the church at large moving into the next decades is there is currently among conservative Christians an outrage, which I agree with, against you call it wokeism or whatever, all of this stuff that's out there. And the outrage is justified. the way that outrage has tended to manifest itself is not justified. It's not righteous anger, you know? And so what has happened has become this like permission granted to Christians to act unchristianly because it's in opposition to something they see as a morally reprehensible thing in our culture. Mm-hmm. I am concerned, to kind of use like a colloquialism with it, if we fight the devil using the devil's tools, the devil wins. Mm-hmm. And so as we seek to confront the trends of our culture, whether it's wokeism or whether it's something else, I'm deeply concerned that we maintain Christian character in the midst of that. And what is it? Like the Beatitudes, the Sermon on the Mount is the description of that. What do you do to enemies? You pray for those who persecute you. You bless those who curse you. You do not return evil for evil. You return good for evil. Like the list goes on. It's the opposite of what... And then somebody will go, well, that's... You turn the other cheek. You know, that's one of the things Jesus teaches. You give them your cloak when they... All this sort of stuff.
Right.
And someone will say, well, that's not effective. And my response is, Jesus never said it would be effective.
That's true.
The point is not effectiveness.
It's not up for us to decide.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
The point is faithfulness, and then the Lord does through that what he sees is right to do. Now we'll go back to masculinity, it takes a very strong, confident, secure person to be able to withhold that and trust the Lord to do what, if I attempt to do, I'll screw it up.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Kind of have those like you said, kind of secure in yourself. You've got all those boxes checked already that, okay, I'm good with me. I know my flaws. I know where I fall short, but I know that God will take it from there. But you have to be, you know, like you said, confident within yourself to say, okay, the rest is up to God, and I'm just going to be kind of like waiting on him to provide my next steps, if you will. Like,
yeah.
And I've heard it. This came from a movie, but it's kind of biblical. You might, scripture wise, be able to point directly towards it. But you know, basically, until the Lord moves you, you're to bloom where you're planted.
Yeah. Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah. That's great.
You know, and like, from a movie, but
what movie was that?
I've heard the phrase
Sorry,
before.
I don't mean to put you on the spot.
So you know they've made several movies. It was from a church in Georgia.
Yeah.
The Fireproof.
Yeah,
Courageous,
Facing
Facing
the Giants.
It was it was actually their first movie, I think it was, and lesser known is called Flywheel.
It's called what?
Flywheel, like from a car.
Oh, Flywheel.
Like
okay.
a piece. And that was the name of the movie, and they kind of searched for a classic car, Flywheel, but that was the name of the movie, and another thing that I thought of whenever you were talking just a little bit ago, of while you're in here, and this was a quote from that movie as well, but while you're in here complaining, God's out there working.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what triggered, you know, something that you said just a few minutes ago. Yeah. Just instead of self-sulking, you know, and pity partying around, and God's out there doing what God does best.
Yes.
You know, and kind of this world has focused so much on self and too much in an unhealthy way, and but like, not to confuse, like we talked about just a few minutes ago, where me time is essential, but it needs to be intentional, and it needs to be a smaller part of your day, right?
Yeah.
Because, you know, think about it, you know, whenever, you know, we're described as, you know, the hands and feet of Jesus, you know, being the church, you know, hands and feet aren't just going to be like, oh, wow, look at these hands. You know, these are nice hands. What are they supposed to be doing?
Yeah.
Not admiring, not lifting themselves up. Yeah. You know, they're supposed to be out there doing stuff with them, you know, in I guess, you know, figuratively, like in the community, and kind of, you know, helping the community in a selfless way that doesn't point back to them, but points up to God.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, I enjoy I enjoy me time.
Yeah.
I don't get much of it, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But when I do, I feel guilty.
Yeah.
I struggle with that
Yeah.
as well.
I feel like I don't play golf anymore, but it's a waste of money for me to go play golf. But anyway, I would go play golf with some friends, and I would just feel like I'm wasting time. I get one shot at raising a child, and here I am playing golf.
Thinking about all the things I could be doing.
Yeah.
I feel like I should be doing.
Right.
Kind of, and then condemning yourself and self-condemnation almost.
Yeah, and every time I do something like that, I haven't when we went hiking. I don't know why, but I haven't.
I have a theory on that one.
But like doing something like golf or whatever,
Yeah.
I feel guilty I feel like I'm putting myself above everybody else when we all should be, around the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And kind of my theory on that, specifically the whole hiking thing, is we were kind of scouting out trails and kind of seeing, trails that would be good down the road, because we're working towards like a much larger section of hiking and a much more strenuous. But down the road, I think the reason that you don't feel guilty in that regard is that down the road, the end result or goal, I should say, is eventually going to bring the family and kids and things like that along with. So maybe it's like this is part of working towards that. So maybe that guilt isn't there for them. Maybe I don't know. Just a theory.
Yeah, it could be. I don't know, but I do. I feel guilty when I go and do stuff for myself. I don't know. Yeah. It's just me.
I know a lot of people just go for a drive. I've never really liked doing that. And to me, I'm like, I'm just wasting money, and I don't,
wasting gas.
Wasting gas, because that stuff's expensive, and whatever the reason may be, whatever the TV says or whatever's true, I don't know, but whatever, it's not cheap, right? And so it's like, okay, well, that doesn't make sense, because where am I going? I don't know. Well, I'm just going to stay at the house then.
Yeah,
for me, but I know like siblings, they're like, I was like, what are you doing? Oh, I'm going for a drive. Where are you going? I don't know. Well, we're different in that regard. So
yeah, I never did the whole.
I never understood it. Now, I mean, I in a sense though, I can kind of understand if you're going up to the parkway or going around the lake, but to me, unless it's like on a bike, like motorcycle or I guess bicycle, but probably not.
No.
John's like, no, definitely not.
I'm not doing that.
I know that last hike we were talking about, just to get up to the parking lot, how strenuous that was. But anyway, but I get it, and it's something that I feel like and it was explained to me not too long ago, so it's still kind of relatively new. But whenever you're kind of intentionally denying yourself, and I'm not talking about like the scripture wise, deny yourself, take your cross and follow me, not that specifically, but just the small amount of time that you should be putting towards yourself to re-energize and to say, hey, I matter, to the point of so it doesn't harm you, because it was explained to me that, hey, that's a form of self-harm. If you neglect yourself, as well as overworking yourself, apparently that's a form of self-harm that I'm 100% guilty of. And I was like, oh, okay. But in a sense, I get it, because if you fill up your time with work or some regard, you're also avoiding that downtime of allowing that still, quiet voice, that we, the Holy Spirit, to say, hey, you actually made time for me, versus you fill it with noise, or, basically at the end of the day, okay, what did I accomplish? I don't know. I just did a bunch of stuff. Did it value anything? Was it valuable? Not really.
Right.
You know, at the end of the day, did I spend it wisely? You know, because that's time I won't get back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, when you really, you know, maybe it's just avoiding that quietness. You know, maybe that's something that I really need to work on. You know, and that brings it back to that self part, right? You know, I think that could be in the category of an insecurity, you know, and I'm feeling that and avoiding that, or I have been, you know, to a certain point until it was brought to my attention that it's like, hey, that needs to be worked on, man. That needs to be checked out. Like, what are you doing? You know?
There's a theologian from the 1600s, Blaise Pascal, who said something to the effect of, all of the ills of mankind could be solved if people could learn to sit in a dark room in silence alone. And I think he's exactly right.
Yeah.
And that was before TikTok and stuff like that, you know? Yeah. We avoid that because when we do get in those moments, that's when the real things under the surface of who we are, those come to the top.
The deeper things.
The things that haunt us or whatever.
Yeah.
And we need to process those. We need to process those with Christ. That's prayer, meditation, and so on.
Yeah.
But what we have always done for centuries and centuries, but we have mechanisms for doing it better than any of our ancestors did, is we drown it out as much as we possibly
Distractions.
can. Yes.
Yeah.
And when really we need to confront those things. We need to take time, and that's me time is also watching a show on Netflix. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But those things can substitute for avoidance, for not dealing with the real stuff that's going on underneath.
It's kind of more so not the what, but why.
Yeah. Yeah. And also the how much.
Sure.
That's a thing too, for sure.
And because we a lot of times treat symptoms of things, or, you know, but never, I don't want to say never, but more often than not, we avoid dealing with the root of things.
Oh, yeah.
And that takes a lot of work and a lot of intentional, painful work a lot of times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we're changing gears
Let's do it.
Drastically here. We all know you're a Lord of the Rings fan.
Yeah.
So I'll let you ask the Lord of the Rings question. I'm a Lord of the Rings fan, but I don't think on the scale you two are.
So I'll preface this. I'll start it off by saying, John had invited me to attend church with him one Sunday, and the one that I did, and I don't know if this is a more often than not occurrence, I don't know, but I remember very vividly you made a couple of Lord of the Rings references that during that sermon. I was like, I like this guy.
It's pretty common,
you know. And I was like, wow, you know, talking about God and Lord of the Rings, not holding them equal by any means. Please, you know, don't take it that way, but incorporating it. And I was like, this is cool. I like this.
I've never heard Lord of the Rings brought up in church.
My
whole life.
I had neither. I had neither until that day, and I was like, it is possible. Okay, cool.
Well, I'll answer this 23 right quick.
23. Sure.
All right, go ahead.
Go for it.
What is it about Lord of the Rings that resonates so deeply with Christians? There's a lot. But,
yes.
One of the things is that most of the characters, the main characters, are Christological characters. And so they all have a reference point as a Jesus figure of a kind.
Okay. Yeah.
So Gandalf is certainly a Jesus figure. He literally rises from the dead. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aragorn is a Jesus figure because he is becoming the king of the White City. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
The premier Jesus figure is Frodo, who is the ring bearer. In like a biblical sense, Christ is the sin bearer.
Yeah.
Perhaps more than anything is that as we watch or read Lord of the Rings, I think all of us identify a lot with Gollum. You know, we see the battle between good and darkness and light within us all, depicted in this person, and we understand that what it's like to allow something like that to consume us to the point that we're literally destroyed by it.
Yeah.
And so all of those, there's a lot more too. But all those things, I think, just they intersect. It's not an allegory. The Lord of the Rings is like Narnia is an allegory.
Right.
Yeah, it is.
Lord of the Rings is not. It is everything is metaphorical, and it interlaces, not perfectly, but it interlaces with all these sort of Christian big ideas and concepts.
Yeah, and you mentioned the Gollum thing, and someone had said that we're one decision away from a very different life.
Yeah.
And that could be good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you know, as a parent, you know, and growing up, I remember, oh, that's your consequence for this. But as I got older and into adulthood and things like that, I realized that, hey, consequences aren't bad. Always.
Not all of them.
Right, not all of them. They're just simply results of one's actions.
Mm-hmm.
Could be good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
And but yeah, the I think it was episode 3 of Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, the where Aragorn, you know, takes and the city and, you know, is crowned and all those things. And I remember watching it and just looking at what, you know, Peter Jackson did and the cinematography of all those compositions of the shots, because that was when those movies came out, was early 2000s. Mm-hmm. So there wasn't a whole lot of CGI stuff at that point, not like today, and it's overly used, I think, in a lot of things. And then you have the Hobbit series and, you know, things that have come out more recently. But there was a lot of practical effects there in those scenes. A lot of miniatures, though, like you know, of those scenes. But
it looks better than CGI.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. Miniature looks a lot better because it's there in the real world,
mm-hmm.
captured by a real lens.
Mm-hmm.
Versus, I mean, you can mimic, right? But it's just not the same.
Right.
And I remember whenever the local theaters had switched over to digital projection, and there was a theater. I think it was actually the neighboring town that switched over to a digital projection, and then the local one hadn't yet. And I remember going to the theater to watch, I think it was like a Monsters, Inc. movie, the college one, or the one that came out afterwards, but it was on film. It was actually kind of hilarious because it was a digital created movie, but it was projected on film. Mm-hmm. And I was like, this looks a lot better.
Yeah,
yeah. Even though it was digitally created. But, you know, it's kind of to your point. You know, it does look, it looks better. And so if you had to preach a sermon using one scene, I guess, from any of the movies, from any of the books, or from the book, or any of the movies, what scene would you pick?
So I've thought a lot about this. Is my favorite question out of everything you gave me. And so I really thought a lot about this.
Yeah.
It was not.
There's so many different locations you could pick.
It wasn't immediately obvious to me because there were, like you said, there's a lot.
Yeah.
But the one that really kind of came to the surface, I think it's unexpected, is the interaction between Gandalf and Frodo in, I think it's the Mines of Moria in Fellowship of the Ring.
Okay.
Where Frodo and Gollum, he discovers that Gollum is following them.
Yep.
And he says, I wish that Bilbo had killed him when he had the chance. And Gandalf responds, I got the quote, so he says, many that live deserve death, and some that die deserve life. Mm-hmm. Can you give it to them? Then do not be too eager to deal out death and judgment, for even the very wise cannot see all ends.
Yes.
I think that is absolutely profoundly wise. Like the people that we wish to judge, we first of all don't know where they've come from. Second of all, we don't know what they're going to be, you know?
Yeah.
And the worst of people can turn out to be the greatest of saints, you know? Mm-hmm. And so withhold judgment and leave that, you know, you're not wise enough.
Right.
So back off of it. I think that's absolutely spot on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
What about location-wise?
Okay. What do you mean? Okay.
So, because, I mean, most of it's like New Zealand, and New Zealand, you know, it's very photogenic of a place, with the mountains in the background and things like that. But
Are you asking where my favorite location is in Lord of the Rings?
yeah, let's do like a part 2 of that question. So yeah, sure. What would you pick?
Shire.
Shire?
Yeah, I think so.
How come?
I think my close second is Lothlorien, but the Shire.
Okay.
Because it's home. Looks like a home. Everything about it is.
There's a lot of emotion that comes from the screen.
Yeah.
You can relate to it.
You can rent that place and stay in it.
Oh yeah, I know.
It's an actual
It's
place.
real.
Yeah, someone
Yeah.
built it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the one
It's
they
like
had
a
there.
little community.
Yeah.
Yeah. The actual one, and then
Someone bought all that
Yeah.
and made it homes.
yeah.
And you can rent those and stay in them.
But the Shire is everything about it looks warm, hospitable.
Yeah.
People are enjoying life.
A lot of the golden hour for the videography, photography.
What did you say the other place?
A lot of sunshine.
Lothlorien.
Where's that at?
So
I don't know.
It's the where the wood elves live.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I do know. Okay. I know
Yeah.
now. Sorry.
And
The
everybody, a lot
wood
of-
elves, John.
Sorry.
my wife says Rivendell, and I'm like,
Yeah.
Can you imagine how mildew and musty that place would be?
It's true.
Quite a bit, I would imagine. Very, how to put this respectfully, very natural smelling.
Yes. Yeah. Unless the elven magic keeps that stuff away.
I mean, I don't know, but
Yeah.
All right. We're going to move away from Lord of the Rings for a second because when you start naming locations and things like that, I just watch movies. Sorry.
I told myself I wasn't going to do that. But anyway.
Well, you failed. All right. So,
Utter failure.
you personally, what gives you hope right now?
About what exactly? About the future of the world, or
Sure.
I mean, the Bible answer is God's in charge,
Yeah.
and I do believe that. But what I visibly see is I actually am encouraged by going back to the masculinity thing, a revival of sorts, and I think a good pride about what it means to be a man.
Yeah.
For a long time, I feel like men kind of had to hold their heads down. Like this whole notion of toxic masculinity and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not as prevalent. And I see a lot of trends even in the secular world of calling men to responsibility. And I think that is a very encouraging trend. I like to see that.
Yeah.
And I know in the kind of going back to those the Flywheel movies, but the Courageous movie, one of the parts in that movie is where the men, after they've kind of done a whole lifestyle change and kind of more intentionally came back to God, more life focused on that, they were talking about how I feel like God is telling me to call out the man in my son, and thinking about that. I'm not there yet with mine, but how much of a responsibility that is.
Yeah.
But not just at that moment, but all that groundwork, that foundation laying that has to happen now and should have been happening and somewhat has been, but more intentional now, as I've, done some self work, to redirect and to do better, in a more of a God pleasing way, living more, getting back to where I'm more intentional on the time that I spend with God and doing more of what He would want me to do versus what does myself want me to do, and that's a decision that I have to do every day.
Yeah.
Every situation that comes up, okay, how am I going to handle this? It's that part of that self checklist of, me or God, and if it's God, then it's probably in some realm of dying to myself so I can serve others, putting myself, at that moment, it's not me time, and that I have to remember that. But yeah, I don't remember where I was going, but
it's okay. All right, this may be a little hard for you since you said you've wanted to be a preacher since you were 5.
Oh, I have an answer.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So
Yeah.
if you weren't a preacher,
Yeah.
what do you think you would be doing?
Stand-up comedy. I mean it with all my heart.
That's
really.
awesome.
Yeah. I love to make people laugh.
Yeah.
And I love listening to stand-up comedians discuss their craft. Mm-hmm. It's extremely similar to what a preacher does, in terms of just interaction with the public, the kind of energy that a room gives, all that kind of stuff, the analysis of how you structure storytelling and sentences and all that sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. So if I hear Jerry Seinfeld is going to be talking about comedy, I will straight up listen to him because not just doing comedy, but talking about how he writes comedy. And the whole process of that is fascinating to me. I find it intersects a lot with what I do, and I would have loved to have gone that route with it in a different life. Yeah.
okay.
That's great. Let's move into the rapid fire.
Okay.
Because I think what we're going to have to do for this episode is we'll finish up the rapid fire. I'm going to ask 2 more questions, then we're going to have to call it.
Sure.
For time constraints.
Time reasons. Right.
So will you come back
Sure.
for
Love to.
another one just to talk about whatever?
Absolutely.
Like later in this
Yeah.
season, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, I'd love
if you're
to.
willing to come
Yeah.
back on. Absolutely.
Good.
Awesome.
All right. Hit him with the rapid fires.
You want me to go through all of them, or do you want to?
You can do a few, and I'll do a few, whatever.
How about we alternate every
Sure,
other?
go ahead.
All right. Aragorn or Gandalf?
Aragorn.
Okay.
Just because I don't identify with Gandalf, but I can identify with Aragorn. Reluctance to step into the role that you're called to do, and then eventually shouldering the burden. Gandalf's a rock star from the word go.
Yeah, that is true.
Gandalf the Grey or the White?
Or the white. Yeah, it does not matter.
Yeah.
They're both awesome. Yeah.
Favorite book of the Bible and why?
Probably, I had to think a lot about this. It's like choosing between your kids. Okay.
Right.
I know you've got a favorite.
Yeah.
I think it's the book of Jonah.
Okay.
There was another question earlier, which was most misunderstood person in the Bible. I think it's Jonah also.
Okay.
But part of the reason why Jonah's 4 chapters, it is literary, like not just in terms of like what it teaches about God and stuff, but like literarily, the way it's structured, with the way that the development of the story and themes that are developed in chapters 1 and 2 show up in 3 and 4. I just find it was written by a genius. Like it is like not just like the Holy Spirit wrote it, but a human being did, and they organized it in such a way that it is absolutely impeccable in 4 chapters.
Yeah.
That is just contained there, and then to use, assuming Jonah wrote it, to use himself as the villain of the story,
Right.
as a way of communicating the love and grace of God towards those people that the Jews traditionally said were untouchables.
Right.
So I think it's my favorite.
Favorite character in sci-fi?
Jean-Luc Picard.
How come?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
He is, this goes back to like masculinity. Like he is the type of leader I want to be. When I watch Star Trek, like one of the reasons I love The Next Generation is I'll watch how he leads the crew, and I'm like, gosh, man, I would love to have that kind of wisdom with how he does it. And he has integrity. Mm-hmm. He's well thought, like he's well read, well thought out. He so that's it, Jean-Luc Picard.
Okay.
One word for the church in America right now.
Humility.
Very good.
When I first read this, mine was asleep.
Oh, okay. So like,
It could go either way. Yeah.
I'm thinking of a word to challenge the church in America.
Right.
You're identifying. You're diagnosing, and that's right. I would agree.
I think asleep.
Yeah.
We need to. I think the church needs to wake up,
Yeah.
and I think it did. It's crazy sounding here, but I think it did when Charlie Kirk was shot.
Yeah.
And then
did
it
for a
was
bit.
like, "Rah," and then
Then it rolled over.
yeah. Then we're right
Hit the
back
s-
down.
that
Hit
was
the
that
snooze
was the
button.
church.
Yeah.
That was the church sitting up mid sleep, be like, whoa,
Yeah.
and then they pass back out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's what that was, I think, because it's definitely not the same energy and same alertness
Right.
that it was at that for those few weeks or whatever during that time.
Yeah.
that came after that. So, kind of like that question, one word for Christian men right now.
Again, like I'm taking it from the challenging perspective, and
Yeah.
it's integrity.
Oh, good one.
Yeah. Be who you are in public as who you are in private.
That's so important.
Yeah.
Because I've seen so many, and I've lived it for at one point, complete 180, complete opposite of who I portrayed myself to be. And I don't have a problem publicly, admitting this now, because I've dealt with that. I've repented of that. And all those things. But there was a time, a chapter in my life where that's not who I really was, or that's not who I was when no one was watching,
Right.
or obviously God always sees, but no human.
Yeah. Yep.
There's certain things that no human knows.
Yep.
But God knows. God sees. He's always been there. Yeah.
And also, we see it. Like, I know my inconsistencies,
Yeah.
and I am weakened by my experience of those, And so
It affects you
It
in
does.
the public.
Yeah,
You're not as strong as you could be.
exactly.
That's fair. That's
Yeah.
true.
Mine was lazy.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's what I thought of
absolutely.
when
You're
I
right,
first
man.
read this.
You're
I
right.
was like, lazy.
And that's
It was because unfortunately, that's me. I'm lazy.
In what sense?
Other than, we go to church every Sunday. Everything else,
Kind of like
I need to talk about it more. I need to invite more people to church.
Yeah.
I need to tell, my salvation story.
Yeah.
And I don't do that. So that was the first thing that came to me when I first read that. I was like, I thought of me, lazy.
Yeah. Not doing everything that you
Yeah.
could be or should be or
Yeah.
whatnot.
Exactly.
Like a Sunday morning and done.
Right.
Just about.
Yeah.
And I think that category is so massive right now. It kind of goes back to the one word for church in America right now. Asleep.
Yeah.
For your response to that.
Yeah.
I think that's most of the category of Christians right now because of the condition of this country.
Yeah. Yeah.
I already know the answer to this next one. Coffee or energy drink?
Coffee,
Yeah.
without question.
Without question.
Yeah.
I knew that.
Yeah.
Nice. Getting a little personal here.
Here we go. This is good stuff.
Most underrated band of all time.
I am a diehard obsessive Rush fan. Ooh. And so some people would say they're the most overrated band of all time. I think they are the most underrated. I think that they are just
Comparatively.
Yeah. I just absolutely love them. Yeah.
Nice.
Great band.
Yeah.
So what topic could you go on and on about for 20 minutes with no notes?
Rush. Without question. Yeah. I could. Yeah. Easy.
Segue.
Yeah. But also Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Generally, World War II history, American Revolutionary history, Civil
Love
War.
it.
A lot
just
of good
love
stuff
it.
in that.
yeah,
too.
yeah.
Love it. That'll be next time.
Okay.
Yeah. We can. Yeah. Little foreshadowing to that.
All right, here you go. We're going to make people mad. I want to ask this one because I want to be part of it because I like making people mad. Most overrated band of all time.
Led Zeppelin.
Mine is the Beatles,
Yeah.
and I will stand with that the whole time. And Elvis Presley.
Yeah.
You and I both agree on that.
We agree.
Let us know in the comments. Light them up.
Yes.
Light it up in the comments. It doesn't matter. And tell us, some of these rapid fire questions, how you would answer to them, and what would you would say. All right.
I got 2 more questions, and then we'll close it.
We'll wrap it up.
Yeah.
For this episode. Sure.
What's something that's been on your heart lately?
Well, something that's been on my heart lately. Personally, we are trying to adopt a child, and so that has been the emotional part that's been on my heart. I pray about it a lot every day. As far as my own development is concerned, the word for me right now is discipline. I think a lot about that. As far as the church is concerned, it's nothing new. This is constantly it, and it's discipleship. It's just seeing that we are doing better and better at training people to do what Jesus says. So,
Okay. You have any questions for us?
No
okay,
pressure.
okay. Here's the question.
Okay.
Your favorite conspiracy theory?
Oh.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. About anything, conspiracy-wise. I think Joe Biden was a robot. How's that one?
That's good.
I do, too. But that's not mine. Mine's John
That
F.
was free.
Kennedy.
Yeah, I love that one too.
I don't think Lee Harvey Oswald shot him. I think our government killed him.
I think Lee Harvey Oswald was involved.
He was involved
That was the face.
to
Yeah.
play the role that he played
Yep.
of being caught. More than one. Yeah.
without question. Yeah.
Well, that kind of he wasn't a president, but that happened again. We briefly mentioned it earlier. Very similar situation.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
And it's still ongoing. But as far as
We'll
that-
never know.
No, we won't publicly, and that's
Yeah.
the point. We won't.
So, is there anything we didn't ask that you
there's-
want to say
in this episode,
in this episode before we go?
I don't think so. It was a lot of fun. It's cool.
All right,
I
good
look
deal.
forward to doing it again.
Well, we definitely will.
Yeah.
We definitely will.
absolutely.
And then we'll come back and we'll dive into history, whatever you want to talk about.
Sounds cool.
yeah,
I have to do some studying.
Yeah.
But we'll go ahead and close it out. Thank you very much for coming on today, and I enjoyed it a lot.
I did too. This is cool. Yeah.
And we'll definitely have to, for our audience, stay tuned. And thank you everybody for tuning in, and thank you again for coming out and being on this episode and the first episode of this season. And until next time, see you guys.
See ya.